On the last episode of Alpha, the Antonio story, Antonio's mother had dropped a revelation about his father, but instead of being angry with him, Antonio was upset that his mother didn't choose to look the other way. As a result, he continued to be disobedient, racking up multiple school suspensions. Antonio's mother grew tired and decided to give herself an out. She dropped Antonio off at Brenda's apartment in the projects. Brenda, the woman that his father had been cheating with. Antonio fell into a routine with Brenda and his little sisters, even becoming an errand boy for Brenda's drug operation. His father didn't show up for 3 days, and when he did, he was under the influence and displayed violence towards Brenda. Antonio was confused about the difference in his father's behavior, but just as he was attempting to digest it all, he awoke to bad news. His father had been in an accident, and he didn't make it. And now, Chapter 4, What I Want You to Have, narrated by Shandora Warren, music by Epidemic Sound. Two days after my father died, I overheard a conversation between my mother and one of our neighbors. Her name was Wilma. Wilma wasn't a friend, per se. She was a neighborhood newsmonger who had arrived to retrieve any information that was available to her. I listened from the living room as they sat at the kitchen table. "How you holding up?" asked Wilma. My mother responded, "Doing the best I can, I guess." Then Wilma got down to what she really wanted to know. "You think that girl gonna do the right thing?" "What you mean?" my mother asked. As the conversation progressed, I realized that most people had an inaccurate depiction of the situation. When Wilma asked if that girl was going to do the right thing, she made it obvious that she had been participating in the neighborhood gossip. I was 12. I had no idea what the situation was or what any of them had perceived it to be, but Wilma cleared all that up. According to outside perception and gossip, my father had divorced my mother and was carrying on with a younger woman. By all accounts, my mother was left alone, impoverished, with mounting debt, and would likely lose the house. All my father's assets had been transferred over to the other woman because she's who he loved and wanted to be with. But because she was young, probably in her 20s, she couldn't be depended upon to handle my father's arrangements. She'd probably just take the insurance money and spend it at her leisure. Thus, my mother, the wife of 40 years, might still have to handle the situation, in spite of it all. That was the neighborhood gossip. An eerie quiet filled the space. If I had to say, I imagine my mother was probably giving Wilma the same uncomfortable smile that she displayed when Brenda asked why she'd arrived on her doorstep. My mother broke the silence. In no uncertain terms, she made it obvious that she had no intentions of giving in to any games that the neighborhood decided to play. She said, "Wilma, before I say this, I want you to know that it's none of your business. I'm only telling you because I want to make sure that you get the right bone to carry back. Cecil didn't leave me. Cecil cheated on me, and I put him out. Where he went was none of my business, and I really didn't care. What I did care about was how I was going to take care of me and my son. Trust and believe, I ain't never dropped the ball on that. I put Cecil out, but I won't never gonna divorce him. Everything he had was mine. It was always mine, and it was always gonna be mine. It was mine when he was alive, and it's all mine now that he is dead. That young girl's name is Brenda. Brenda ain't never got nothing out of Cecil but 2 babies and a hard time. That's all she ever got, and it's all she ever gonna have, unless the welfare decides to give her something. So when you and the rest of the hens get together to cackle, you make sure you tell them that I'm gonna use the insurance money how I see fit. My house been paid for, and I ain't never gotta work no more. I'll see you out." And with that, I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps shuffling towards me. I quickly flopped onto the couch, pretending to have been there all along. After Wilma walked out, my mother went back into the kitchen. I followed because there was something that I desperately wanted to know. Even though I had pretended not to hear the conversation between my mother and Wilma, my quest for information made me give up on that. Having been at Brenda's house for a few days, I felt as though I understood some essential things about her life. Brenda was struggling. She lived in the projects with two small children. My father, who had been an amazing provider for us, was absolutely no help to her and the children that they shared. If anything, he was a hindrance. Brenda didn't have a job. She solely depended on drug sales to take care of her and my little sisters. Yes, I understood all of that at 12 years old. And that understanding prompted a desperate need to ask questions. So I asked, Ma, you said the house was paid for, and Daddy left enough insurance money for you to quit your job, right? You gonna help Brenda out? Daddy would probably want to make sure they're okay. My mother laughed. Then she said something that I never forgot. She said, Tonio, I'm gonna tell you something, and I hope you always remember it. I ain't your daddy, so I'm not gonna talk all around this thing to make a point. I'm gonna give it to you straight. I ain't giving nobody nothing, no more than what I want them to have. That includes time, information, money, or anything else. I gave Wilma that time and information because I wanted her to have them. There was something I wanted her to know. That wasn't for you, but since she got it, this is what you could do with it. If your daddy wanted to give Brenda something, he should have left it to her. But as for me, I ain't giving her nothing because I don't want her to have it. That's all the information that you and Wilma gonna get, because that's all I want to give y'all. Brenda and the kids can come to the service, but that's all they getting. My father was buried a few days later. True to her word, my mother allowed Brenda and the girls to attend the service. Also true to her word, she didn't give Brenda a dime. I came to understand it a little bit better down the line. My mother was absolutely right. She didn't owe anyone anything, not even an explanation. She was living her life when this all fell onto her lap. The affair, my father's death, all of it. Brenda had audaciously exposed her affair with my father, changing life for all of us. My mother didn't owe her any sympathy, information, and certainly not any money. Her only responsibility was to take care of us. But at the time, I felt that I had formulated a bit of a bond with Brenda. For a few days, her struggle was mine. As a result, I didn't understand why my mother couldn't find it in her heart to make things easier. If for no other reason, shouldn't she have taken pity on my sisters? After all, they were innocent in the whole thing, and they had lost their father too. My mother didn't see it that way. And because I lived in my own mental bubble, I found it hard to see the situation through her eyes. As far as I was concerned, my mother was selfish and only cared about herself. She didn't owe anyone anything, that's what she said. And I took that opportunity to capitalize on her stance. I decided that I'd only give people what I wanted them to have. Unfortunately, I didn't want to give my mother any respect, so I didn't. The behavior that I started to exhibit before my father passed was multiplied, probably by double. If I didn't want to go to school, I didn't go to school. And when my mother tried to talk about it, I told her that I didn't owe anyone anything. That went on for about a year. And then, my mother got tired. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to follow Shinny Tells a Story on Facebook and Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to purchase books by Shandora Warren, they're all available on Amazon in ebook, paperback, and some in hardback formats. Please like and follow this podcast and share it with your friends, family, and frenemies, because all relationships matter, even the toxic ones. Thanks so much for helping me to create the world that I want to see. This is my 10th book. Oh yeah, you're welcome.